Shell, foot binding was the process of breaking, then tightly wrapping the feet of young girls. The process, which was meant to alter the shape and size of the foot, was, as you might imagine, both lengthy and excruciating. Moreover, foot binding severely limited the mobility of the women who underwent it, and often resulted in permanent disabilities.
She didn't have to cut me off. We were nothing. Your love should treat me like
Welcome back, YouTube. We back with another episode of Wizzle Reacts. You feel me? Welcome back, everybody. That's already a part of the gang. Appreciate y'all. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and being a part of the game. Check out the content first, though. You know, today we got something very special. I would say this was overdue, because I just couldn't put it together as well as I wanted to. You feel me? But this is about Chinese foot binding. Well, foot binding. It's just mainly the Chinese practiced it more than any other culture. But yes, foot binding, and this is very interesting to me because when I was younger, I heard about these type of things. Now, of course, people had their hilarious reasons of why these women would foot bind, but nonetheless, it was crazy just even hear about the art, you know. And me and my mom, we were sitting here, and we came across it, and we were just like so interested, and she didn't know nothing about it, and I'm wondering how many other people out there that doesn't know about this art, and just, you know, shedding some light on other cultures and things women endured that we might not be aware of. Alright, so, you know, once again, this might be a trigger warning for some people because I was getting a little bit uncomfortable watching it because of the way the foot was going, and it just looked extremely painful. So a lot of people that don't like to see pain, you know, it's just a trigger warning for them. But I want to welcome everybody back to the channel once again. But yeah, let's get into this video.
Imagine, if you will, a young girl who purposefully bends and occasionally breaks her own feet at grotesque angles while simultaneously mangling her toes from as early as the age of 5. Why would anyone ever do such a thing? Well, in a word,
5 years old.
Fashion. Today, we're going to take a look at some crazy facts about the history of Chinese foot binding. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. After that, we'd be much obliged if you would leave a comment.
Shout
and
out
let
to
us
the
know
Weird
what
History
other
channel,
cultural
man.
topics you would like to hear about. Okay, brace yourselves. It's about to get real cramped in here. In a nutshell, foot binding was the process of breaking, then tightly wrapping the feet of young girls. The process, which was meant to alter the shape and size of the foot, was, as you might imagine, both lengthy and excruciating. Moreover, foot binding severely limited the mobility of the women who underwent it, and often resulted in permanent disabilities.
Dang,
Generally
alright.
practiced in China between the 10th and 19th centuries, the practice, which resulted in a shape that became known as lotus feet, remained prevalent through 5 dynasties. A foot binding ceremony was usually performed on girls between the ages of 4 and 6. At that age, the
That
girl's
is
bones
insane.
are composed of pre-bone
That is
cartilage
abuse.
and were easier to break and mold. Foot binding usually started during the winter, when the feet were more likely to be numb. It began with the submerging of the feet in either warm water or a concoction of herbs and nuts, or animal blood. All toes, except the largest, were then broken and tightly wrapped in a bundle of cotton bandages, nestling them under the sole of the foot and angling the ball downward to create the desired hoof-like shape. Every 2 days, the feet were unbound, meticulously cleaned, and manicured. While the feet were unwrapped, the girl's soles might be kneaded or beaten to soften them up and make the joints more flexible. Then the feet were rewrapped, with the wrapping being pulled
They
increasingly
beat the
tight
girl's
each
feet.
time. The details of the process could also vary widely depending on the era and geographical location. For example,
want to remind everybody to go check out the website we just recently launched. Okay, the Urban Experience. The link is www.thaturbanexperience.com. We offer a wide variety of products: skincare, jewelry, clothing, and electronics. Okay, one of our featured products is our palm ring. And all of our jewelry is made from 100% pure copper. It's handcrafted. Copper offers a wide variety of benefits. If you know, you know. And of course, y'all know we got the merch, t-shirts, onesies, and trucker hats. Everything comes in various colors, sizes. The trucker hats, you can get anything put on the brim, of course. Don't forget to check out our skincare products, mainly our body butter. Okay, comes in 4 flavors. Now this stuff is real good. We're gonna start posting the reviews and stuff like that. I promise you, you put this stuff on, you will not have to moisturize it for 2 days. You know, of course, as long as you proceed with your regular hygiene. Right now, these are available in 4 flavors. Cherry blossom, Japanese cherry blossom, sweet orange, and vanilla bean, which is my personal favorite at the moment. We're about to launch 3 new flavors as well, and I'm not gonna spoil the surprise to tell y'all what those flavors are, but you gotta stay tuned. And last but not least, check out the stuff that we offer for absolutely free. Absolutely free. Depending on where you live at, you might have to pay a small fee at shipping and handling. But we got everything from Xbox 360 games, electronics, collectibles, all type of products. And we try to upload things every day, so make sure y'all stay tuned for that as well. Just want to give a brief thank you to everyone that has supported us so far and placed orders. Everybody that contacted me about how to place, and how to place your order and what you're gonna buy and things like that. I want to appreciate all the support. Let's get back to the video.
Juan practiced a modified form of the custom known as cucumber foot. This version of foot binding, which resulted in a long, slender foot, folded the toes under the foot but didn't affect the heel or ankle. Machuzu women did even less. They merely wrapped their feet tightly to give them a slender appearance, and then wore a particular kind of platform shoe known as a flower bowl to help simulate the walking gait of a woman with fully bound feet. And Quechua women didn't bind their feet at all. Foot binding was also more common in the north than it was in the south, where it was mostly practiced by the gentry. Some women would keep their feet bound throughout their entire lives, while others let the binding lapse after marriage. While that might sound like a bit of a reprieve, the truth is that reversing the process could be as painful as performing it in the first place. You're probably wondering, if foot binding was so painful and resulted in lifelong disabilities, why would anyone do it? First, since foot binding originated in the upper classes, it came to be considered a status symbol and an indication of nobility. This association remained even after it filtered down to the lower social classes. Second, small feet were idealized in ancient China. They were considered the pinnacle of female beauty and desirability. Amazingly, elements of that belief may remain with us to this very day. The story of Ye Xian, written circa 850 CE during the Tang Dynasty, tells the tale of a girl with bound feet who lost her shoe. The king eventually identifies her because her foot is the only one small enough to fit into it. The two of them fall in love and are married. This tale is believed to be an influence on the modern fairy tale of Cinderella. Perhaps equally important to their connotations about beauty, bound feet carried a connotation about a woman's sexual prowess. You see, the manner of walking that foot binding necessitated was comprised of minuscule mincing steps to avoid toppling over, a practice that ultimately tightened the pelvic muscles and inner thighs. This muscular training was believed to prepare women for ideal lovemaking. Thus, foot binding was upheld as a practice due to its perceived lurid implications. Finally, other sources suggest that foot binding, which was not limited to the elite for long, was also practiced by the working class in order to keep willful, playful young girls disciplined. Women's labor consisted mostly of handwork, such as weaving, which requires long periods of sitting rather than mobility. 93-year-old Sun Choi Go-chu, who had her foot bound, stated that it wasn't a male presence enforcing the custom. Her mother was actually the one who encouraged her to bind. According to her, it was my mom that kept telling me that I have to have my feet bound. So I had my feet bound. But now I kind of regret it because the bound feet actually cause a lot of pain. The earliest surviving written references to the practice of foot binding occur in several poems written about 1100 CE, and the earliest archaeological evidence for the custom comes from a couple of tombs dated from 1243 and 1275, respectively. And that being said, no one knows exactly when the custom began. One legend claims the whole thing may be rooted in the story of a consort of the southern Qi Emperor Xiao Baoquan, who ruled from 483 to 501 CE. Her name was Pan Yu No, and she was famous for her delicate feet. According to the tale, she once performed a dance on a floor that bore an image of a golden lotus. The emperor was so impressed by the dance, he remarked that a lotus springs from her every step. By this, he may have meant to compare her to the Buddhist deity Padmavati, who is associated with lotus flowers. Although there is no indication that Pan Yu No herself ever bound her feet, the incident may have given rise to the term lotus feet, that later became synonymous with foot binding. Historians have generally dated the inception of the practice itself to around the 10th century. Some accounts claim that Yao Nyang, a dancer for Emperor Li Yu, who reigned from 961 to 976 CE, bound her feet in a similar fashion in order to mimic the shape of a new moon. Apparently, she did this at the request of the emperor, who had created an enormous sculpture of a golden lotus decorated with pearls and precious stones, and wanted her to dance upon it. The story holds she was so graceful she inspired other women to bind their feet similarly, thus inspiring the cultural practice. Others believe that because the lotus flower was held in such high regard at the time, female beauty could be elevated if a woman's foot shared a similar shape. Constructed from silk or cotton, shoes worn by foot-bound women were designed to imitate the shape of a lotus bud, typically wedge or sheath-shaped. The ideal lotus shoe was 3 inches long, though many historical examples in Western collections are between 5 and 5.5 inches in length. But what if a woman's foot was too big to get into a 3 to 5 inch lotus-shaped boot? Well, as always, there were some tricks she could employ to achieve as small of a foot as possible. For example, women whose feet could not conform to the 3-inch ideal could allow the heel of their foot to protrude over the back of their shoe at times. The heel was then further bound with wrappings or could be cleverly hidden by clothing with the right kind of hemlines. Pretty sneaky. The binding itself sounds uncomfortable enough, but it was by no means always the end of the process. In order to achieve the desired lotus shape, extreme measures were sometimes taken to discipline the shape of women's feet. For example, the flesh of the foot was lacerated in some cases. Sharp objects were inserted into the bandages, leaving various wounds. Both of these tactics were used to encourage extra flesh to rot away, thus shrinking the foot further. Though this type of mutilation was purposeful when performed, the lack of proper maintenance could cause problems. For example, unclipped toenails could easily become ingrown. This could injure the toes and in some cases have some pretty serious side effects, including things like infection. To prevent this, some little girls had their toenails permanently removed, which carried its own risks. Another problem was that the tightness of the binding would restrict the blood flow in the feet. The lack of circulation meant that injuries would be slow to heal and in severe cases could lead to rotting flesh. Even worse, the infection could enter the bones, which would result in toes literally just falling off. You'd think that would be enough to convince people that foot binding was bad news. But amazingly, losing toes was considered a good thing because it allowed the feet to be wrapped even tighter. The infections that were a common result of the practice also sometimes had one other serious side effect, namely death. Foot binding could lead to septic shock, In fact, some estimate that somewhere around 10% of the girls who underwent the process eventually died from it. As for those who survived, life was no bowl of cherries, unless your bowl of cherries was canned and then run over by Buick. The foot bones would repeatedly heal and re-break throughout their lifetimes. Not exactly something to look forward to. And while the harm foot binding could inflict directly on the feet is obvious, the damage didn't stop there. In fact, the rest of the body also suffered from the restrictions in several ways. Notably, women with bound feet were found to have 5.1% lower hip bone density and 4.7% lower spine bone density. Both of these factors contributed to these women's increased risk for hip or spine fractures. The damage caused by foot binding was never a secret. In the 13th century, the Chinese scholar Che Ruoshui criticized the custom and wondered why little girls of the age of 4 or 5 were being made to suffer unlimited pain. In 1668, Emperor Kangxi tried to end the practice by banning it. However, despite his best intentions, the public wasn't having it, and he eventually repealed the restriction due to the widespread persistence of the practice. Chinese writers of the 18th century also opposed the practice, as did many of the leaders of the Taiping Rebellion in the 19th century. Christian missionaries also did what they could to actively discourage it. Though it was officially outlawed in 1912 following the Nationalist Revolution in 1911, foot binding wouldn't truly end on a grand scale until 1949. With the creation of the People's Republic of China. In 1999, the last shoe factory that manufactured Lotus shoes was permanently closed. And by the year 2000, only a few very elderly women still had bound feet. So what do you think? What constrictive fashion would you participate in? Let us know in the comments.
1949 is literally not that long ago. And then 1999 is when they literally stopped, closed down the last factory that was producing the shoes that fit those type of foot structures. But I, for one, am just glad they stopped it, because that was just abuse. I understand they said they was doing it for merge and fashion. I, for one, don't think none of the reasons why they were doing it were that serious to me. And now I know it's not my culture, but I'm thinking about the little girls, man. I don't think that was right for them, and then it was forced upon them. It's quite actually sad, bro, that grown men and women were sanctioning these horrendous acts upon these children. But I'm not going on ramble. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. First of all, was you all aware of this foot practice? Because I know I heard of this years ago when I was younger. But like I said, the reasons why they said they were doing this, it was so stupid in my opinion. And I haven't heard the reason being told on this video. I don't even want to mention it. So I didn't even think it was true. But let me know down in the comments if you have heard of this Chinese foot binding before, excuse me. And also, what do you think about Chinese foot binding? Because I, for one, think it was inhumane. And then for them to be conducting this on children mainly, it's just absurd. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys find this normal, or do you guys think they were right to end this practice? Again, if you made it this far in the video, I just want to thank y'all for watching. Once again, I want to thank everyone for supporting the website, www.thaturbanexperience.com. Please, if you like the content, hit the subscribe button for me. It's free, don't cost you anything. And you hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload a new video. I'm sorry, man, I'm still thinking about this foot binding. It's crazy. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody for watching. Let me see y'all next time, alright?